Hello everyone and welcome back to my opinion. And today I'm going to be talking about the fifth game of the second leg of IPL 2021. And this game being between the Chennai Super Kings and the Royal Challengers Bangalore. And CSK won the toss and chose to field first. And they did not start very well with the ball because there was no swing in the air. And I'm not saying this was a factor, this was a contributing factor, but there was a sandstorm, so the start of the game was delayed by 10 minutes. And yeah, I'm not saying that it was a factor. I'm just saying it was there. And Deepak Chahar especially struggled because there was no swing, and he is a swing bowler. And the RCB openers, Kohli and Padikkal, enjoyed themselves. And it was a combination of, bad bowling and good stroke play. And so pretty much in that scenario, the batsman always wins. And even for a few good balls that Hazelwood bowled, especially, Padikkal, there was a ball where Hazelwood bowled it on the off stump, and you'd think, all right, you'd defend it or maybe play it to the fielder for no run, or certainly not do what he actually did, which was he hit the ball for six on the up over Josh Hazelwood's head, and it just showed the confidence that he had, with the success that he's got in this season so far, and in the previous season where I think he scored five fifties. And the thing is, yeah, the first 10 overs really were completely RCBs, and the first six overs, RCB got 56 without loss, and after the first 10, they were 90 without loss, and they were already going up to get a score of 180 plus. Now, I was quite confused at especially, at the six over point. I mean, not really confused, but what I'm trying to say is that I didn't believe that this Sharjah wicket was gonna be like what they did. But at the start, it seemed like it was flat, and especially towards the end of last season, it deteriorated a lot and got so much more slower that I actually thought by the end of last season, batting in Dubai was much easier than batting in Sharjah, and maybe even at times batting in Abu Dhabi was much easier than batting in Sharjah, because with Dubai, you kind of thought it's not gonna get slower than a certain point, and you can still in both those grounds, but especially in Dubai, if you apply yourself, you can get 170. Whereas in Sharjah, towards the end, when I remember when RCB got bowled out for 120 odd, that time was especially quite slow. And could you really bank on getting that kind of score towards the end when you can get 200 pluses at the start? No, you couldn't. And so that's why I didn't really believe, and I didn't really want to believe, that this track was gonna be flat throughout, and it wasn't, because after the 10th over, RCB only managed 28 runs in the next five, and within that time frame, Kohli got out flicking off Dwayne Bravo over mid wicket, or trying to go over the mid wicket fielder, but Ravindra Jadeja caught an excellent catch at mid wicket to dismiss Kohli. He got 53 or 42, and Padikkal scored 70 or 50, and he got dismissed a few years later, but only after De Villiers got dismissed. And this is where RCB wouldn't have wanted this wicket to fall for two reasons. Because De Villiers, if there were some overs left for De Villiers to get set and then to just explode. And the thing is, you saw in the first game of IPL 2021 against the Mumbai Indians when they're only chasing 160 in Chepauk. But if De Villiers hadn't scored that 40 odd in quick time, RCB would have probably lost that game. And in that game, it seemed like he was batting on a different surface to everyone else. And yeah, he made a vital, quick fire contribution that ensured that RCB got close to the target, and eventually, they won the game. And so not only does he have the power to accelerate, there was quite a few overs for him to do so, and also in this case as well, they needed in the match context, as I said, they slowed down, and they needed AB de Villiers to really make up for things with I think about almost 5 overs left. Or I think maybe slightly more than 5 overs left. They wanted AB de Villiers to really be able to just hit the bowlers around and get them to 170 plus. I don't remember exactly the time when he got out, but I know what he got out for and how he got out, because he got out of Dwayne Bravo, skied it, and Suresh Raina took the catch. But the problem for RCB even more is because of what he scored. He scored 12 off 11 when you need to accelerate, and the hitters coming after him, none of them, and probably not many people, are like AB de Villiers in you won't expect them to bat on a or to bat like they're batting on a different surface to the others, and definitely not be able to adjust as quickly as De Villiers, has done before. And so, with Maxwell and Tim David making his debut, Hasaranga, who is a bowling all rounder, you never thought that anything much would come of it. And I thought that even 170 was looking, quite a slim possibility at that point. And yeah, they just couldn't play Dwayne Bravo. I mean, Maxwell hit a six, but apart from that, Dwayne Bravo was all over RCB, just like he bowled brilliantly against the Mumbai Indians. And I would say solely, as far as the bowling department, mainly because of him, and also the slowness of the surface, CSK managed to curtail an RCB that was 90 without loss of the halfway stage to 156 for 6 at the close of the first innings. And, you know, I, for an optimist, for someone who wants to be optimistic, I think that you could have said that RCB had a chance to defend this, and I thought that they did. But especially with the slow bowlers that they do have in Chahel and Hasaranga, and they could create a problem in that middle phase. But the thing is, and I've alluded to this in a previous video where I talked about this fixture, is that the reason why CSK have won against RCB so many times is because they've been more mentally equipped to deal, with the situations that occur. And both these teams have approached the game in different ways. RCB with more aggression, and CSK, quite a few times they seem to be in the back foot. And I think, but however they recover, I think largely due to the captain. They recover, and in the end, they make such a. It seems subtle, but then afterwards they just manage to, without making much fuss at all, they just manage to claw their way back into the game. And I just feel like it's a combination of, I think RCB's Twitter account put before the game fire versus ice and Kohli versus Dhoni respectively, and ice has won a lot of the time. And I just think that RCB have really, they've looked to win the games each and every time, but I think CSK has, because they've won this fixture so many times and they've won it quite convincingly, you never really thought that. And even I thought it was going to be very hard for RCB to make CSK feel as if they were behind in the game. And especially with the openers, there was a very similar score after the power play. It was 59 without loss and 56. But maybe it's because, they know what they're chasing, which, probably had a lot to do with it. But also the aura that CSK have, and especially against RCB, they know how to win against them. And I just thought that the openers didn't seem to panic at all, and that kind of rubbed off on the whole team, considering that they would know they've won against RCB a lot. And I thought RCB was, all right. The first wicket fell on 71. Kohli got an excellent catch off Yuzvendra Chahal, who's now dismissed Gaikwad on three times out of 4 innings. But even then, you never really thought that, even with Hasaranga's googlies, you never really thought that RCB could, make CSK feel uncomfortable. And the Pacers did not have a great day, especially Harshal Patel, who's ever since Jadeja hit that 37-run over off him, which completely ruined his figures, he's not been the same. And especially today, he bowled a couple of no balls and he just didn't bowl well in general. And he still has the purple cap, but he's not been bowling well for the last few games. And they just, apart from Chahel and Hasaranga, there was no one who was really keeping the batsman guessing rather. And I thought, especially towards the end, Suresh Raina came in at number 5, and Ambati Raidu coming in at number 4. By the way, he really, after Moin Ali, I think Moin Ali was at number 3, scored 23, but Ambati Raidu scored 32 off 22 when you didn't really need many runs at that point. I think close to a runner ball, and he's always been a gutsy player, and I just feel that the reason why he's so important for our side is because you look at all the players and you think, the fact that they're short of cricket is the first thing that you think about, and it's a thing that probably makes you uncertain, and especially, as a fan watching it, makes me uncertain as how they will do, and many others. Whereas you look at Ambati Raidu and you just don't get the feeling that he'll be rusty. He seems to probably have more hunger. I'm not saying the others, don't have hunger, but Ambati Raidu definitely, he seems, has been a very gutsy player for a long time in the IPL, and he's played for India as well. And I just think that you don't really think that the supposed, the rust will affect him, and that's the reason why he's been playing well for CSK. And yeah, I just think that today he made another great contribution when the game was getting closer and closer to a CSK win, but his innings, ensured that Reina and Dhoni could finish the game off themselves afterwards. And also, I thought that, especially towards the end, the calculated hitting of the spinners. Yes, and Harshal Patel's, full tosses and things didn't exactly help when Ryder was batting, but especially Reina and Dhoni, and especially Reina off the spinners. Now he's had his struggles against pace bowling and that very ugly dismissal of Trent Bolt, Trent Bolt bowling a hard length and you back. If you want a bowler to bowl a hard length, now Trent Bolt's my favorite bowler, but he probably doesn't have the you wouldn't say his short ball is up there with any of the other faster bowlers. And yet Suresh Raina, just for he bowled a hard length which was coming into him, and yet he backed away. I think he was caught at point because he tried to play the ball to the leg side, and the bat, the toe, it hit the toe of the bat, and kind of chipped off, and it just flew somewhere. So it was not a great dismissal at all, and the spinners bowled to Suresh Raina. Straight away he seemed more comfortable, and especially that six he hit off Hasaranga. I just think that he hit a 4 and a 6 of Hasaranga, and I think they talked about this on commentary that Dhoni probably walked up to him and said the next 3 overs after this are going to be seamers, and yeah, it's just the fact. Yeah, the next 3 overs after this are going to be seamers, and if you want to really help us get close to the total, just go after the spinner in these few balls. And he did exactly that. And I think he's got 15 off. He's 15 off 8 at one point. I think he got 18 not out overall. And yeah, it's just the fact that CSK won this game easily in the end, and RCB did not bowl well at all. And I thought that with how the pitch was, it definitely did slow up. But the reason why it showed more when RCB were batting is because CSK had someone like a Dwayne Bravo, Jadeja also bowled well to kind of keep the runs down, and all the bowlers eventually they came back after having a difficult first 2 overs. Especially I thought you look at Thakur, Hazelwood, and stuff, they actually came back. And with RCB, they didn't really seem great in the first place, even though they have a good bowling attack. They just did not seem like from the power play even. Well, you saw with CSK that you didn't think they were going to completely crumble. Whereas RCB, they didn't crumble, but again, you just didn't get the feeling that they were going to pose a stiff chance to CSK, and they didn't. And so RCB have now lost 3 in a row, and honestly, I know they've been doing well, and I do like RCB, but here's the thing. They've been, well, if it wasn't for De Villiers, they wouldn't have won the game against Mumbai. Despite having some good performances, that especially with the ball, Harshal Patel getting a fifer. If it wasn't for De Villiers, they wouldn't have won that game. And if it wasn't for an SRH collapse, they wouldn't have beaten SRH. And they've lost 3, so effectively they should do, or there's a possibility you could say that they could be 1-4, lost 5. And they have played some good cricket, and I'm not going to deny that. But they definitely did look, after the 10th over of the first innings, they looked completely, out of answers. And yeah, I just felt like CSK thoroughly deserved to win this game. And once again, so they're in this fixture, we just know how to win. And here's another side point that I want to raise, because Virat Kohli is, after this season, he's no longer going to be RCB captain. And especially today, when you saw how animated he was after the first wicket fell, and after a few hours after that, I'm starting to see how the new captain, what kind of type of cricket or brand of cricket the team is going to play. With Kohli, it's aggressive and he's very animated, and I'm sure he'll still be that whether he's captain or not. But with some when someone's the captain, you know, the direction of the team, the growth of the team tends to be in a direction which kind of symbolizes what the captain is. And I just can't seem to associate RCB with not being aggressive. And that's why I'm saying two things. One, it'll be very odd to see the team kind of, you know, that sense of aggression will still be there, but kind of be there with Cody playing second fiddle rather than being the captain. And also another thing with the players they've got now, who is another captaincy candidate? I mean, are you really going to give the captaincy to Glenn Maxwell after his second season? De Villiers, I don't think wants to. Apparently, I'm not sure, but I don't think he'll be captain anyway. Despite he has been captain for South Africa, I just don't think he'll take up RCB's captaincy. If anything, there's only one player, and this may be, you know, quite a long shot, but Yuzvendra Chahal. I mean, you know, he seems to. This may not coincide, but he's played chess, and I just think that he does have, also when in bowling, trying to outthink the batsman. I think they'll probably get as close to a tactical mind in Chahal as they probably would get in anyone else. I'm not saying the other players don't know the game. I'm just saying out of all the captaincy candidates that they have right now, apart from Kohli, Chahal's probably the best bet. And they're gonna have to buy another captain if not in the auction. But that's for next season. But RCB, they're not looking convincing, and after with KKR winning their last two games, convincingly against RCB and Mumbai, there is a thing where what if KKR could take RCB's spot, and RCB would be gutted because they were 1-5 and lost two at the at the halfway stage, but they've kind of, and I'm not surprised that they have lost three in a row. They have good players, yes, and they do play some good cricket, but I just feel that compared to, if you want them to really go far in the competition, and especially even if they do get to the playoffs, do you think that RCB will be able to beat the other teams? No. And I do like RCB, but that is the truth. And I just think that they're going to have to be a bit more robust rather than, right now they just seem a bit erratic, and it showed when CSK were unwavering in the fact that they knew how to win the game. They knew they saw themselves winning the game. Whereas RCB, they seemed like they were trying a lot, but nothing went right on the day. And Kohli at the end with all the not great deliveries, Harshal Patel was bowling, he looked quite helpless at the end. And so that's on this game. Another occasion where CSK have won against RCB. And tomorrow, it's the first game, I think, is a DC versus RR. Now RR have been, I don't know how Punjab managed to lose that game, but RR would be filled with confidence after batting quite well. And even though their bowling did not seem threatening at all at any point in the innings, the Tyagi, who had been quite expensive in his first 3 overs. I think in his first 2 overs he was more expensive. He only gave a 6-run over in his second over, in his third over, which is only because the last ball was hit for 4, and then he bowled that excellent last over, in the 20th. And I don't think they'll beat DC. Honestly, I think Marcus Stoinis isn't available, but even then, I mean, I want to see if they'll do this or not. Now, Lalit Yadav has shown that he can, play as an all-rounder. Probably not bowl as much, but he can fill some kind of all-rounder role, meaning they have one more overseas slot. And I think especially against teams, who don't like pace bowling, or more than that, Delhi's pace bowling has shown to be their main threat of getting wickets. And so Nokia Rabada and Ben Dorcius, who's a left-arm bowler who bowls quite quick as well. I think that they could try out that trio for one game, and if there's a batting lineup to try that out against, who've not been confident in the past and are just trying to find their feet, it's the Rajasthan Royals. And if you could just look to just skittle them out, and okay, this may not work, and I'm saying they'll probably have a bit more confidence, and they've scored 185 against Punjab. But, trying that out wouldn't be such a bad thing. And I think that they probably may not be able to play that combination, against every team, but I think that it could be quite good. And the batting, Delhi's batting is already strong. They have, the batting is very deep, but they don't necessarily need another batsman in Marcus Stoinis because they already have an order that can get you runs. And yeah, I just feel like Delhi could try that out. I don't think they will, but it's just a side note. And yeah, I think it'll be a game which, I think it'll be a good game, but I do think that Delhi will win quite easily. And another thing where the last two, sorry, the later game where it's two teams which I don't think are going to get through, and we've probably lost hope. I mean, the thing with Punjab is that they've managed to win games where that seemed like they'd lose against the Mumbai Indians with 2 super overs, against the Sunrisers when they only scored 120, I think, in the first innings. And then they've managed to lose games against KKR, against DC in their first game of the last IPL, and they managed to lose this game. And that's what I'm saying. You can never quite know whether they'll win or lose a game, even if, victory seems on the horizon. And yeah, I just feel like even if they do beat Sunrisers, I just think it'll be quite hard for them to really get back, because throwing away 3 points just like that after you've done all the hard work, and let's face it, I mean, the RR bowling was toothless for 18 out of the 20 overs. The Rajasthan Royals bowling was toothless. I mean, just look at the way Chris Morris bowled. I mean, that kind of just summed up how they were kind of scratching their heads at one point, especially when it was, 12 of 17 with 8 wickets required. It was so effortless for Punjab to get there, and yet they somehow lose. And, they're coming up against a team that did beat them in the first half of this season. I still think that Punjab could go in there expecting to win. SRH just, I don't think dropping Warner I don't think removing Warner from captaincy has done any good, because it's just that they're probably going to end up losing their overseas players. And I mean, if Kane Whittington, you probably wouldn't have expected him. If it wasn't for IPL 2018, would he be in the side? No, he wouldn't. And when they're going to retain players, so you can retain 2 overseas players and 3 Indian players. So Kane Williamson, Rashid Khan, meaning they'll end up, they can't even use the RTM on Bairstow, Warner, Jason Roy if need be, Mohammad Nabi, and, or if they want to buy Jason Holder. And so they're clearly not in a very good position, not only for this season, but even for the next auction. And in some ways, it provides them for an opportunity to just do the one thing that they haven't done ever since their inception, which is actually get a solid middle order that they can rely on pretty much every game, and just not rely on the top order batsmen to do everything. And speaking on how the game is going to go, I'm just going to say I wouldn't be surprised if SRH lose, and I wouldn't be surprised if Punjab loses, because none of the teams are in, I don't really expect them to be able to string a win. It's kind of like, okay, if one team's gonna have a good game on the day, I think it will be Punjab. But you saw the last time when Punjab got all out for, I think, 120, and SRH got it easily. And I just have a feeling that this game may be another low scoring game. And I think that Punjab may win, just because SRH have lost this many games and they probably wouldn't be very confident. But I wouldn't be surprised if Punjab do lose, and if they do lose, it will just compound the disappointment after having thrown away a game where they should have won. They just lose a game to a team where, if you want to play anyone in the IPL right now, you'd play Sunrisers. So yeah, that's a kind of a melancholic but true end to this video. And if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and please share this video with your friends. And remember, this is my opinion. What's yours?